Before we get started, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Magic Satchel. Link in the description. Make sure you check him out for all your cards, supplies, and everything you need to play this game. He's the best. And with that out of the way, enjoy the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, take out your tinfoil hats. Did Bushy plan this all along? The gift meta. Let's talk about it.
Conspiracy.
How's it going, Team Absolution fans? Today we're here to discuss the gift meta in Standard. Now we've had the Standard meta for roughly a year now. It's a little bit over a year, from Japan's perspective at least. And then for ourselves, a little bit less than that, but still just a bit over a year. And there's a phenomenon that we've really noticed in Standard, and something that we wanted to discuss with all of you today. And that's the concept of the gift meta. And what it seems to me is that we've had metas dominated by gifts, and we've gone through a cycle of that from the beginning to another cycle, and then once more to another cycle where we currently are at today. I don't know if you've noticed that as well, Ryan, or if you have any.
I mean, I would say that Standard is dominated by gifts. You know, it's kind of like the whole thing that made Standard, Keith. Perhaps you'd care to be a little more specific.
Perhaps, yeah.
I'm just gonna preempt all the crappy YouTube comments.
Someone's ready to type already. But I think what was interesting about it is because previously we've had mechanics. So stuff like Legion, we've had Stride, we've had Limit Break, all of these ones, but everyone had the same thing. You all had a Limit Break.
Everyone
you all had a
wishes they had
Stride.
Legion.
Yeah, that's right. You wanted to have a Legion or you got a shitty promo, is what happened. But different clans got different gifts. And as a result of that, we've had different transitions of metas with that.
Between the gift types, you mean?
Exactly, yes. And with that, I want to discuss what the different metas that we have had are with the gifts. So initially, from the outset of Standard, we had a very protect-dominated meta. From the beginning, OTT just came out the gate swinging. We all thought it was going to be Kagero, I think. Everyone was like, Waterfall is dumb. And then OTT said, nah, we're good. We're going to be the best deck. And that one really dominated, you'd say, the first 3-ish months up until AL4, arguably, when we got Murakumo and had kind of a small transition. But then Angels really picked it up again and had an amazing conversion rate, even with Neos being a very good deck at the time. So from the start of Standard, we had this debatably, meta that was just dominated by Protect. Would you agree?
Personally, I would say that it was more about the deck itself, as you were saying. Like OTT and Kagero OTT was better against the field in general, but Kagero could compete with it. Then you say, AL4, then we have Spikes and Tachikaze, and Tachikaze did well for a while. And then, Meg Colony as well, didn't do as well. No. AL4 comes out, we've got Shadows, Pale Moon, DI, also Protect Clan, and Murakumo, which Murakumo then starts to step up. You're right that Angels kind of came in and solidified the top two Protect clans right there. Angels kind of floated between spots a little bit. There's plenty of both. I would say it's more the deck itself that does really well versus the gift type, as you saw in that span there. You can see that there are 3 Protect decks, as we got into Grand Blue the first time, that didn't do very well, and there were 2 just better Protect-style decks that did better, and the better accel clans, like Murakumo, outranked Nova Grappler, Tachikaze, in no particular order.
Sure.
It seemed to me like the deck was more important than the gift type itself at that point.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to hold you to that thought right now, because I want to bring it up a little bit later on. But I want to discuss a little bit more about the other metas from there. So we started with Protect, which I think we can agree on that OTT was the best deck in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then we kind of transitioned out of that. When it first really started to happen was with Angels getting introduced. We also saw Neo Nectar come up.
Yeah.
Because Neo Nectar was the first Force deck that really said, I can actually compete with these because of how fast out the gate I can start playing the game. So you were able to really just vomit a field with, what was the name? I always forget the name of that promo. The Grade 2. Sunlight Guardians Guide. There we go. Yes. And so that one just let you go the immediate aggro and actually gave you some game against the Protect decks. And then from there, we really fully transitioned into a Force meta, I think, with Bermudas, which was really the elephant in the room, I think, of just how good the Bermuda deck was because of Lisalet, Sonata, and Caro, just kind of creating the unholy trinity of amazing advantage in that deck. And then sort of a denouement, I guess. You want to use my fancy vocab words. Yeah.
He's flipping his little English dictionary.
That's right. Yeah.
Denouement. That's my word of the day.
That's right. Thesaurus on the desk. I'm just like...
Gotta work it in somewhere.
Oh, yes. And so... but the dwindling of the Force meta we really saw was with Messiahs. We saw Kagero as well was a great contender during the Bermudas meta. You, in fact, did quite well with that in ARG Nationals. And then Messiahs did reasonably well, D-Police did reasonably well, but it was really starting to fade out at that point. I don't know, was there any other decks you saw, Ryan, in that kind of Force meta, or was that...
towards the tail end, Royals was released. They're putting up some good numbers.
Oh yeah, very true.
So it seems like Force in general did pretty well. Shadows was a contender at Nationals.
Yeah.
We can't forget Brant as well. That was up there.
Oh
So
yeah.
plenty of Force decks there. I would say a lot of them got support at the same time.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
right. It was kind of this big, I don't know, just conglomerate of force that just happened at once. They just dumped them all on us because sure we had, was it Heroic Evolution and the set before that, Light of Destruction, were both 2 and 1.
And then Bermuda set before that.
Yeah, that's right. So it was very much a force-dominated, even support, even just meta disregarding.
Agreed.
And then from that point onwards, as force was kind of fading out, then accel really started to come into it. And so during the time of the D-Police, Royal Paladin, Messiah, we started to see Nova Grappler make an appearance with its second set. Yeah, Luminal Dragon is silly when they got that card. Yeah,
very good card.
And then Narukami as well started to make a little bit of an appearance.
Half the field Narukami.
That's right, up at Secaucus. It was nice. And then from there we went to a really an accel dominated now, I think, with BTO6, which is just dropping now this weekend. And we have Pale Moon, which is an amazing deck, Murakumo, which is also an amazing deck. And then from there as well, we have Tachikaze, which is going to make its appearance in about a couple weeks from the recording of this video right now. Just want to make that clear. So, but we're really now transitioned or are about to transition into a fully accel meta from that. Do you agree?
I still think it's about the deck itself.
Okay.
A little bit. I'm still going to make that argument.
Sure.
And as you said, and of course the precursor to this video is, did Bushiroad plan this? We're going to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
I'm sure, but as you said, Force got a lot of support all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it so happened that all of that support was good.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get into this accel meta, so I want to make one point now, is that the Force decks, or at least one Force deck in particular, Bermudas, got hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like their early game got basically swept out from under them by making you choose between Sonata and Lisalet.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind...
just for those who are not aware, there is a complex ban on Lisalet and Colorful Pastoral Sonata where you can only have one or the other in your deck in Standard, just to be clear with that.
You can only choose one. You can't do I'm going to do 2 and 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise everyone would just run the one of Lisalet. Oh, gotcha! Aurora 4 in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So did Bushiroad plan this? Well, Juicy Road. Help! I'm trying to make Cardfight competitive, but the clap on my butt cheeks keeps distracting me. Bushiroad. I didn't mean so hard.
Yeah.
Bushiroad, kind of allowed these things to happen by not only shifting their support schedule, but also banning the best Force deck there was, especially after changing, adding the second gift types, which allowed Force to prosper instantaneously. They gave, D-Police, Royal Paladins, not Messiahs, because you want to play Force 1 with those usually, but mostly Bermudas, the ability to compete with everything by saying, I can go toe-to-toe with you all day, I've got the greater defense, and I've got the greater offense.
Yeah.
So I have everything. And so they then nerfed Bermuda, and now we have accel decks. I suppose you could say accel decks hadn't had their time in the sun because most of them hadn't gotten all the support yet. How many
Sure.
accel decks have been able to abuse Accel 2 so far? I would say Great Nature was the first one to really be able to do so,
Yeah.
and now Nova Grapplers,
Gold Paladin
Aqua
as well.
Force, Gold Paladin, that's true, and now Tachikaze, Pale Moon, Murakumo. So they're all now getting the second sort of support all at the same time, and if you look at the other sets of support, OTT, just okay. Royal Paladin's good. Shadow Paladin, just okay. And we get away from the really good Force support into the really good Accel support and the middling support for everything else. So the support cycle plus the way they introduce Gift 2, I think, is creating these meta bubbles. Did they plan it? Yeah, we could discuss that later.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking it's more about the support for the deck at the time, right?
Yeah.
It just so happened that Force got a lot of stuff and then a great tool in Force 2. And now Force get nerfed. Now we have Accel with all of their good stuff all at the same time. So with multiple Accel decks now in the running, is it a gift type meta? You could maybe argue yes, but I think it just so happens that all of these Accel decks happen to be good at the same time, and Accel 2 is great in and of itself, so much so that a lot of stuff didn't need the additional support to put a stamp on this, to put a stamp on the game.
Yeah, well, with that, Ryan, I want to ask you a question in regards to that, because you say, if I'm understanding you correctly, that the meta, it's not about the gifts, it's about the decks, is what's really made it. Is that correct, or am I correct in saying that?
What I'm saying here is that we kind of think of gift types, or we were, pretty much told by Bushra to think of gift types like a game of rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
If you're a Protect deck and you cure into an Accel deck, you might just lose even though your deck is better. We saw that at the very beginning where Nova Grapplers and Tachikaze could reasonably take on OTT, but Force decks had a lot more trouble.
Yeah.
It seems to me that if a deck is good now, it's got the tools to succeed against most everything else. I haven't seen a lot of decks that can straight up hard counter something else.
Right.
And so it's not so much rock, paper, scissors as this deck is really good and it plays X gift type. It's not X gift type deck is really good because of its matchups in the field.
Right. Okay.
Like Pale Moon can swat anything, no matter what it is. If it is the tier 1 deck that it's been putting up results, so we've got those Japan results, so it can swat anything. Does it have bad matchups? It probably does. Can it not work? Sure, it probably break a little bit.
Yeah, it's Vanguard. There's variants.
Vanguard,
So
it's variant, surprise. It's just that Pale Moon is a really strong deck. Murakumo, very strong deck, very strong mechanic, plays Accel 2, gets to draw cards. Hey, that helps.
Yeah.
It's
really funny what happens when you have an aggro deck that's actually able to draw cards. It's pretty good for the aggro deck.
Amazing, yeah.
It's funny, So I think that's all very interesting points. And with all of that being said, I want to talk a bit about, well, would you consider this healthy? That we've kind of gone from this Protect meta now to a Force meta, and now into an Accel meta. Is that a healthy overall game state for Cardfight Vanguard?
I think game health, as much as we want to, you can talk about it objectively. There's an objective way to tell if a game is healthy, and usually it's just okay, there's no way you could convince anybody that this is okay, except for the guy who gets to do the broken thing. And half of those people are going to say, hey, my deck is broken, that's why I play it. The other half are you guys are just jealous because I get good cards. I would say, so in a subjective health sense, this probably feels like a pretty good system as long as your deck gets time in the sun, as I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a Pale Moon player, you're I took my blows, I took them on the chin, I'm still here, I get my support, and now it's my turn to fight back. It's you're just sitting there playing that, the slapping world championship, and you're okay, alright, I got slapped, but my turn, whack, and now you get to slap the other people. So that probably feels pretty good to you. If you are a player whose deck comes out at the wrong time, and we saw this specifically, I would say OTT fits into this, I would say Shadow Paladins fits into this.
Okay.
If your stuff doesn't come out in a meta where it can succeed, particularly as I'm still arguing, that other decks are just straight up better than yours at the moment.
Yeah.
And why did you buy this set? Why did I buy Tsukiyomi? Is it good? It's okay.
Yeah,
Were people playing it? Yeah, it's fine. But if you don't feel like your deck comes out at the right time, then you're this is crap. Why am I playing this game? You know? So I think it really matters on your support timing and whether or not your deck is good at that time for you to really make that decision of, is it healthy? It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing that could be done. At least we have variants in playstyles and what decks get to see the light of day and cycle through the meta. Because I gotta say, there's a good number of decks in Vanguard that you can play.
Yeah,
we saw a lot of different stuff at Secaucus. There's a lot of different stuff coming out now. There's stuff every month.
Yeah.
So thanks, Bushiro.
That release schedule.
Is that healthy? It's fine.
Yeah.
Does it feel good? Not to everybody.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
That's right. It's one of those cases where, is it healthy? Probably not the best thing in the world. Are there a lot of worse alternatives? I would definitely think so with this. I think one great example that I was discussing with you earlier is that if we look at, let's say for a hypothetical scenario, we had started off the era, and Kagura was the best deck out the gate, dominating everything, was destroying all the other decks. Then we transitioned into Neo-Nectar. Neo-Nectar is now the best deck in the game, dominating all the decks, everything's good. Then we go from there to Bermudas, we go from there to D-Police, and ad nauseum, Royal Paladins, Shadow Paladins, choose your poison.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've had very different decks throughout that meta, or throughout that meta lifetime, I guess, but it's all the same Force deck. We're just playing Force the entire way through V-Era. And I think at least with injecting some variety in terms of the gifts, it has provided a semblance of healthiness, I'd say. I wouldn't say it's healthy, but at least a semblance of healthiness.
I do realize that there are some faults in this point, namely that Force decks are 13k base, and that matters a heck of a lot.
Sure.
To be perfectly honest with everybody, like that matters so much.
Yeah.
Then again, you can design around it. That's just
the
what
prerogative
Bushiroad
Bushiroad.
Yeah, exactly. However, what I really am wondering is the gift a distraction from that kind of argument? Because if you looked back before gifts came out, it would be, well, okay, this deck is the best. Okay, well, now this deck is the best. Well, now this deck is the best. And as you said, everyone had the same mechanics going up until gifts, where the mechanics then got split into 3 and then plus mechanics of each individual deck.
Yeah.
So if the best deck just happens to be from the same thing every time, does that feel bad? Yes. But is that really unlike anything we had in the past? I would argue no.
Right, yeah. But does that make the things before that healthy then, in turn?
Well, I mean, I would say, can we judge them based on our standards now?
Okay, fair enough.
Can we judge them ex post facto?
Yeah.
So that's what I ask you, is the gift type just a distraction?
Okay. Right. Well, given that, and now because our conspiracy hats, tinfoil hats are on, did Bushiroad plan this? Was this transition from a Protect meta to a Force meta to an Accel meta planned by Bushiroad to inject some variety into Cardfight Vanguard?
My initial inclination is some semblance of yes, and I think that's because that's kind of how game design works, in my opinion. If something's really good and continues to be good forever, people stop playing your game.
Yeah, so that's stagnancy.
So you want to inject variety. You want to hit the things that are too good, like Bermuda. You want to give things that are weak a fighting chance. The problem with game design is, what dictates a fighting chance? And when do you go too far? So when do you accidentally give someone PG or die ability every turn for Counterblast 1?
Yeah.
When do you accidentally give someone the ability to make 10 attacks a turn?
Yeah.
And you don't give anyone else the power to draw enough cards to deal with it. So, how can your system be abused by, 100,000 users or more? Is every QA engineer's worst nightmare. Like, what do they see that I don't see, even though I know my product the best, or I should?
Yeah, that's right.
So I would say that does Bushiroad try to plan things? Yes. Do they do a good job of it? Not always.
Yeah.
Because when do you get a meta dominated by something? When game design goes a little too far.
Yeah.
Or elements outside of Bushiroad control take over. Like, when do you get a Shadow Paladin controlled meta? When Shadow Paladins are even the slightest bit better than everything else, because people love Shadow Paladins.
Yeah, so representation.
People love Kagura. People love Bermuda. People buy Bermuda every time.
Yeah.
So why does Bermuda take over in Japan? Why does OTT take over so often? It's usually because people like to play the decks they like to play, and there's so much representation in those big ones that even when something like Dark Arregos is dominant, I don't ever know if it's that much of the field.
Yeah, that's true. When it's good, it's just like, shrug in terms of representation, usually.
I think Bushiroad tries to make this, to inject variety, to keep things as balanced as possible. They should, are they always able to make it happen the way they want to? No plan survives the battlefield.
No, definitely not. I think, kind of with that, what I would consider with these gifts was that we started off with the era with 4 decks. We had OTT, Kagero, Royal Paladin, and Nova Grappler. And what I imagined Bushiroad's intent going into this was, we're going to try to make these as balanced against each other as we can. But OTT just was so much better than the other 3 in this meta. With the small exceptions of Nova Grappler being somewhat okay into OTT, and Kagero just kind of winning games at times with Waterfall. And I think from there, Bushiroad started to realize that just Protect was so good in Force. Like, Force couldn't do much at all. Like, when I was playing Siegfried into OTT, I was just like, did I go first? Nope, guess I'll scoop and call it a day. And they started to really push, I think, I'm trying to get into the mind of what Bushiroad was doing, that they really started to push then, okay, we need Force to at least have a fighting chance against Protect, because otherwise what's the point?
They need to come in the early game and kind of either hit them, take over, or make it a one-hit kill, like, I can survive against you and you can survive against me, but I have the ability to crit you out of the game at any time.
Yeah.
Like, you really have to pick your battles. You really have to play smart. That's the Protect players. Like, that's what they have to do to win.
Yeah, that's right. They're going for the long game. And the other one is just going to be able to, I hit the win button at some point. And usually you're trying to get underneath the control player as you would in any other in any other game, excuse me. So, and then from that we saw then that accel was just having the worst time in the world for like all of this period from, you know, starting Protect into Force, and then I think Bushi really tried to push the docket in regards to accel, because what accel decks were really relevant before this point. Murakumo kind of had its chance in the spotlight. They did pretty well, but outside of that, shrug in regards to accel. And so now these recent ones of, you know, Pale Moon generates so much advantage. Murakuma is just an amazing amount of attacks and trickiness, and then Tachikaze, that deck goes fast. If you see Turd Dino, as he's affectionately called, he just runs you over, and there's nothing you can do about it. So they
Narukami lets you have 4 crits. Narukami lets you have 4 crits.
That's right. And then you have good old... I mean, sure, if Aqua Force was with Glory Maelstrom, that card is silly when you have single door or whatever you want to call the ability. So yeah, so we have all of these now transition to accel really being pushed from there. So, okay, great. What do we think about this as a whole then? Any closing remarks?
I mean, really, I don't think this system is a whole lot different. I think it's just that now we have the illusion of how the game is supposed to work.
Yeah.
And then because we have been either given that illusion by Bushiroad, or the game is easily like simplified down to it and they were just kind of begging the question, I now think we're being slightly distracted by this RPS metaphor.
Yeah.
And it's just the decks that are good, and the decks that are good because they have the tools to succeed, and they can lean on their respective gifts to make that happen. Some decks aren't that great if they would be in another gift, or, you know, because they weren't designed to be. That's another crappy YouTube comment I'm gonna go ahead and put out there before the video ends. If some decks are good because of their gift type, I will definitely say that. Some decks are not good because of their gift type.
Yes.
So I think those are mostly a distraction, and it's really just how powerful the deck is on its own.
Sure.
If a deck doesn't have the cards to succeed, it's unlikely that giving it an extra bit of power with a gift, no matter what type of power that is going to do anything. Look at the decks that are bad. Why are they bad? Is it because their gift is bad? I mean, for sometimes it is.
Sure.
But sometimes it's because,
sometimes
it's because their cards aren't good.
Yeah.
And usually it's because their cards aren't good, or aren't good enough.
Right. And actually that just reminded me of a point with that I'm going to slightly segue. We're not going to close out just yet. Is we had the Protect meta, we went to the Force meta, we went to the accel meta.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. That's right, in this discussion. Do you think we could see a return again to Protect after all of this? Or has accel pushed things too far? Has the train derailed and we are in accel, there's no stopping us?
I think that because Protect, as you say, was dominant so early, it's probably one of the more frustrating decks to play against, because one, the games tend to take longer, which ups the level of tilt and fatigue and bad feelings that you get when you lose the game.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, my whole point of the deck was to make it so you didn't feel like you could do anything, and you couldn't. And now I take the win, and now you don't have time to go to the bathroom and get a hot dog at this tournament.
Yes, right.
Whereas at accel, it's like, well, he sacked me, so you know what? I'm just gonna let it roll off, and maybe having that done 3 times to me will make me feel the same way.
Mhm.
But if you're just tired into protect deck after protect deck, and you don't have a win button somewhere, you're sad.
Yeah.
And so, that's just the way protect works. That's not up for debate here.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, they tried to give the other decks enough power to fight against it, and giving accel the ability to draw cards and make extra attacks at the same time. Surprise, that kills everything.
Yeah.
Giving Force the ability to just create giant, powerful dudes that can get around. Well, you get a free Sentinel, I can attack 5 times, and they're all big. Or I can kill your dudes on the field that have the extra shield that you have.
Yeah.
Or I can make you nothing in Force really makes you discard cards, but I can turn your triggers off.
Yeah.
I can double attack with my Vanguard several times at huge amounts of power, and all my dudes get crits, and
that's right.
you can't
No
take
Sentinels.
anything.
Yeah.
And no
Stand.
Sentinels.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think that needing the power to fight against such a powerful mechanic like Sentinel, which is Protect's best thing that they have. Protect 1 is by and large better than Protect 2, except in very specific circumstances, in very specific decks, in very specific matchups.
Yeah.
I think that because everyone gets Sentinels, everyone needs that power, and Protects, they just get extra Sentinels, and, no one really likes fighting against Protect. I say, that's a gross generalization, Ryan.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I like fighting against Protect because I play Nova Grappler and I win anyway.
Yeah.
Back to my main point, that was a terrible segue.
Down to the weeds.
I think that 1, Force 2 and accel 2 are a lot better than Protect 2, unless something really comes out that can not only draw out Sentinels, but also make really good use of Protect 2 on the board.
Sure.
Then Protect is probably going to be in a pretty sad place.
Yeah.
Like, OTT got Tsukuyomi.
Yeah.
You remember how strong original Tsukuyomi was?
The only thing that could compete with MLB and Dote.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Tsukuyomi wasn't bad either.
Yeah,
it's a great mechanic. It's super fun to play. I really enjoyed old Tsuki. And now it just feels like, this is fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not fast.
Yeah.
And we'll see what Angels do when they come out. They might be just a solid, I can heal sometimes and also beat you down and also get multiple Protect marks to my hand, so that's pretty good. Will Protect as a whole have a chance? I think they're more in the hole than other decks, and certain decks will pop out and say, I can do that, like Nubatama can, and maybe Angels will be able to.
Okay.
But I think the Protect mechanic is now weaker than all the other ones.
Yeah.
Force 1 and Force 2 are kind of both better with the cards that we have access to than Protect 1 and Protect 2. And unless they really start leaning into, well, just because you're playing Protect 2, here's 15k extra power on your rearguard swing.
Sure.
Unless we start getting that sort of stuff, which they totally can do, because they totally do it in Nova Grapplers, and probably Narukami and a couple other decks where it says if it's on an additional rearguard circle, yada yada. Then Protect, maybe, if they just lean into it, then sure. But otherwise, I'm waiting for Protect 3.
Yeah, that's right.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's slightly diagonal now instead of going to the Z-axis kind of thing. But
just stick it on top of the card.
Yeah, that's right.
Vertically.
Yeah. But yeah, so we brought up a lot of points today with the gift meta. We gave our opinions on what it is. Obviously, we do not have all the answers. I'm not going to pretend that we do.
I'm not the CEO of Bushiroad.
That's right.
I don't think he has all the answers.
He's just flying by the seat of his pants. And
Aquaforce question mark?
Yeah. Kidani. So, but yes, with all of that, I assume a lot of you are going to be writing essays. I should have given this preface at the beginning of the video, but since everyone's already stopped watching and is probably writing us those comments now at this point, I'm at least going to see to those of you that are still with us right now, thank you, first of all, for tuning in for this entire video. We hope you learned something today, and we'll really see what are your opinions in regards to the gift meta. Was it the gifts? Was it the decks? And what's going to happen from here with Standard and Bushiroad? And with that, thank you Team Absolution fans for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Peace.